Wheel of Albums. Ladies and gentlemen, the second episode of Wheel of Albums is here, and I cannot wait to see what album the wheel has in store for us today. The rules to this one are simple, but in case you don't know, let me give you a quick refresher. On this wheel right here are 103 different albums, and whatever album I end up landing on is the one that I review. However, with all that being said, there is one big catch to this wheel. Also, scattered throughout this wheel are 5 different punishments. And if I were to land on one, maybe in the future, or God forbid today, I would have to do the punishment. No BS, no excuses, no nothing. I'm doing it. Alright, enough talking. Without further ado, let's give this bad boy a spin and see what we get. Ooh, that's a freaking heater. Not All Heroes Wear Capes by Metro Boomin. Metro Boomin released this album on November 6th of 2018, being about 43.5 minutes in length. And the opening track to this album is titled 10 a.m. / Save the World, with a feature from Gucci Mane. Starting off with a super chill string melody for Metro Boomin, which sounded great in my opinion. But Gucci Mane over this beat sounded nothing more than decent to me, as his vocals were slightly out of tune and just out of key, and I just couldn't seem to get past that. And the hook to me also got kind of annoying after a while, as Gucci Mane just sounded so lifeless and unpassionate in general throughout this song. And just like those other 2 points, his lyricism really wasn't much of a bright spot either. And my favorite part of this song, believe it or not, was actually the Chipmunk sample within the last 30 seconds. But really, other than that, this song was a miss in my opinion, as I found myself just bored throughout most of the track as a result of Gucci Mane's uninteresting performance. I could go without listening to this one again, to say the least. And that's going to bring us to the second track, Overdue, with a feature from Travis Scott. At the beginning of this song, Metro Boomin hits us with a sample chop that sounds kind of filtered, which shortly after just blasts off into a trap beat that's full of energy. And over this highly energetic trap beat, Travis Scott sounds smooth as butter, being the feature on this one. And the piano from Metro Boomin that comes in towards the midpoint of the track just adds the perfect layer to fill out the beat entirely. Where over it, Travis Scott talks about the nights that he took it too far with certain substances. But personally for me, my favorite part of this track has to be the last minute of it, sounding just crazy atmospheric with Travis Scott's beautiful vocals. And these vocals are also mixed in with 21 Savage's ad-libs on the side, making for just a flawless transition to the next track, Don't Come Out the House, where 21 Savage sounds as sinister as ever with an insanely dark trap beat from Metro Boomin. And 21 opens up this song by whispering, which increases that sinister vibe even more, until he eventually uses his normal voice, saying that he wasn't going to whisper the whole time. And while 21 Savage's voice picks up, so does the beat, having an insanely menacing piano melody with bass that could just shatter a window if you played it too loud. And just like the cover to this album, 21 just spits freaking fire throughout this entire song, with the rapid and red hot flow that kept my head swinging the whole time. Basically saying that if you were to mess with his crew, things were going to get ugly real fast. And the ending to this song is quite the full circle moment, as 21 Savage returns to his whispering, which I feel like was a perfect send-off to this song, as it gave this high energy beat time to just wind down and cool off a little bit. And this cool ending takes us to the next song, Dreamcatcher, with features from Sway Lee and also Travis Scott. Metro did an excellent job on the production with this one, just really capturing that chill vibe sound, where Sway Lee showcases his spectacular vocals sounding splendid throughout his entire verse. But the same cannot be said for Travis Scott, however, as personally I wasn't a huge fan of him singing at the same pitch Sway Lee was, as I feel like it didn't fit his vocal style really well. But even when he did switch his tone, to me his lyricism wasn't all that enticing. And yeah, to me Travis's vocals could have been a lot better in my opinion, as Sway Lee I feel like carried the bulk of this track. And that's going to move us on to one of the more well-known tracks on this album, and for good reason, being Space Cadet with a feature from Gunna. And let me just start off by saying this, it would be so wrong of me to not bring up the production first, as in terms of sound selection and beat structure, to me this is one of Metro's best beats that he's ever made, which Gunna was 100% the perfect fit for, as his flow meshes exceptionally well with this beat, giving the overall track as a whole just crazy swing. And Gunna's lyricism was also a step up compared to the previous tracks, not to mention. But aside all of that, my favorite part of this song by miles is the last 45 seconds. Play this last 45 seconds to somebody on the street and I guarantee you they will start floating, because my soul left my fucking body the first time I heard it, and like listening to it again, it just never gets old. All right, while my soul's still floating, we are going to float on over to the next track, 10 Freaky Girls, where 21 Savage makes his return. Sampling Cash Shifts and Whitney Houston's Are You the Woman, Metro flips this into a trap beat that just absolutely slaps. And off the jump, 21 Savage, in my opinion, sounds way sharper than he did on Don't Come Out the House, where for a little bit of the track, he speaks on his relationships with freaky women. But the bulk of his lyrics bring up his behavior with guns and also the massive amounts of material possessions that he's acquired over his rap career. So while the subject matter from 21 isn't anything too crazy, he does sound excellent sonically though. And this track ends with a rather unexpected outro, where we hear 21 talking about how he was driving down the highway one night and bumped into somebody that he had robbed back in the day. But ultimately how they were both able to look past that and move on with their lives. This was just kind of a weird ending in my opinion. And that's going to send us over to the next track, Up to Something, with features from Travis Scott and also Young Thug, where Metro Boomin just continues to show off his mastery of making dark melodies, as one like this was perfect for a duo like Thugger and Travis. Young Thug does not disappoint at all, with his flow lining up greatly with this atmospheric beat, and not to mention his vocals and also his ad-libs shine greatly through the mix, making for just an overall entertaining performance from him in general. And I was actually left really confused because I could have sworn I saw Travis on the feature list but never ended up hearing him, and that's because he never had an actual verse in the song but rather just ad-libs to brighten up Thugger's verse, which really I didn't mind at all as it brought more atmosphere and charisma to the song in general. Overall, I was a huge fan of this one as the beat had crazy swing, Thugger's verse was just incredible in my opinion along with Travis Scott's ad-libs, and I can definitely see myself returning to this one in the near future. Coming up next is Only One, which is an interlude featuring Travis Scott, but despite this being only an interlude, in my opinion this was Travis's best vocal performance on the entire project so far. And with Travis Scott's heavenly vocals over a super rich piano melody, it just makes for one melancholy vibe. And Metro Boomin, being the talented producer that he is, made this interlude actually transition into the next song, Lesbian, with features from Young Thug and Gunna. And for the start of this track, Metro continues the theme of having a gloomy piano melody. This melody goes on as Gunna kind of warms up to it, but then eventually just explodes into one of the hardest hitting trap beats that Metro Boomin's ever made, in my opinion. And the crazy thing, to me at least, is that Gunna's on the best two beats on this album, in my opinion, which he did his thing over both of them. And on this track, he's saying how he fell in love with a lesbian but didn't learn his lesson the first time. And as Gunna's verse comes to an end, the beat does kind of cool off a little bit, later transitioning into Young Thug's verse where he actually keeps up with Gunna on this high energy beat and just has a really rock solid performance on this one. Yeah, in my opinion, both Young Thug and Gunna did their things to say the very least, and this is actually one of my favorite songs on the entire album that I return back to frequently, honestly. Up next on this album is Borrowed Love with features from Sway Lee and also WizKid. And when I clicked on this song, I was like, dude, I know this sample from somewhere. And that's actually because it was the same sample that was used on Wu-Tang Clan's Tears. Production-wise, I really like how Metro implemented trap drums over a melody that you would usually hear in like a love song, which you wouldn't usually hear trap drums over, but Metro made it work for sure. I was also a big fan of the electric guitar coming in later in the mix as it added a super warm feeling to the beat. And Sway Lee on this one, he already sounded way better than he did on Dreamcatcher in my opinion. I mean, his vocals sounded so beautiful on this track that it sounded like something straight out of heaven, to be honest with you. And for WizKid, even though I personally never heard of him, he kept up with Sway Lee, and these two on this kind of beat just made for a super vibey and fun song overall. And with Borrowed Love wrapping up, we are now on to the final three songs of this album, with the third to last song being titled Only You, with a feature from WizKid again and also J Balvin and Offset, where Metro Boomin continues to show off his production versatility, presenting to us a super Hispanic heavy beat with a nice E-piano melody. WizKid's up first, where he sounds excellent vocally, speaking on how he's only focused on this one chick and nobody else. WizKid pretty much carries on with that same subject matter, and that is until Offset comes onto the stage, where he actually did exceptionally well for a beat that you would not hear him on, pulling off that Hispanic flow, if that makes sense. He pulled that off really well in my opinion. And as for J Balvin, sonically he sounds fine I guess, but I can't really judge his lyrics as he's singing in Spanish. But for me at least, I feel like the main standout was the production from Metro Boomin, as like I said, he shows off his versatility really well with this one, and this was not a beat that you would normally hear him produce, but he pulled it off. And with Only You coming to an end, we're on to the second to last track, titled No More, with features from Travis Scott, Kodak Black, and 21 Savage. Metro Boomin continues his great production with a dark and eerie bell melody, and Travis Scott also continues his great run on this album as well, with a hook saying how he continues to drink lean until he can't pour anymore, and also stacks money because he can't fold it anymore. Kodak Black also sounds great melodically in my opinion, just continuing the subject matter of not being able to stop doing drugs. And after Kodak's short feature, 21 Savage makes his return for his third song on the album, switching to a more serious topic, saying how he saw one of his friends hang himself by ropes because he couldn't learn the ropes, until eventually going back to the topic of not being able to kick the cup. And yeah, the mood for this song would definitely be dark and eerie and a little bit depressing, honestly. But luckily the ending of this song does ease the gloomy mood a little bit, sampling the 24 Karat Black's God Save the World. But the final song, titled No Complaints, is anything but somber, with features from Offset and Drake. And no surprise, we get another high quality beat from Metro Boomin, with the lead in the beginning that sounds kind of unusual but actually works really well with this beat. And Offset wastes no time getting started on this one, coming in with a hook that sets the tone really nicely. However, his verse was a little bit of a step down from the hook in my opinion, but that's not even saying it's bad, to be honest. And as for Drake, his flow in my opinion wasn't anything to go crazy over, as to me it did sound a little choppy at times. While I also do believe his lyricism could have been better too, as it just had a lot of room for improvement in my opinion. But really, other than Drake's verse, this song was a great way to cap off an album that was full of energy, and also a lot of great features as well. And with No Complaints coming to a close, I can say that I hardly have any for this album, as Metro Boomin was just really in his bag in 2018, providing us with some of the best beats that he had to offer, while also implementing a handful of great artists to rap over them. And with all this being said, the best song in my opinion was Space Cadet, and the worst song to me was Only You. And that is just about going to bring the second Wheel of Albums episode to a close. Let me know what y'all thought of this album, and give it a listen if you haven't. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and of course sub to the channel, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.